Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cove Club, your podcast interview show for all things involving the entertainment industry, for all avenues, for streaming, for writing, for producing, for telling that one guy to stop eating that sandwich on the freeway, all things creative. It is I, the Lion Founder, with the Wolf Founder here for a change, as we're talking to Dr. Adam V.O.
Hello.
And
nice to be here.
We appreciate you being here. And before we get started, though, Adam, would you like to give a rundown to the people about some of your credentials that you've been a part of?
Sure thing. So I have been doing voiceover for probably about 3 years. It's been a mixture of podcasts and audiobooks. So I'm working on my 4th audiobook now. And then I've been in shows like Y2K, playing the villainous Jono. Also done spots in the Room podcast, the Insomnia Project, Seminar by Pendant Audio, and a whole host of other things. Recently started getting into video games. So, I there was an announcement that I was brought into Supremacy with the very memorable character name of Roadkill. And so definitely starting to branch out into different media.
That's always good, because you always want to hear successes on every single avenue.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, for the first couple of minutes, Wolf is going to be taking over for a lot of the stuff for the questionnaire stuff, but I will be returning in a couple of moments. So, Wolf, would you like to get started?
Oh yeah. Do have one random question, but then again, this is a question I like to ask a lot of EAs is, what's the weirdest thing that anybody has requested you to do in a certain voice?
Oh, that's a good question. Actually, I think probably the most unusual thing would be kissing. So on Y2K, I play this guy who he's really kind of sleazy. He's not a very nice person. He's very manipulative, and he seems to kiss on his girlfriend a lot. And as it turned out, as the creator Karen Heimdahl put it, I was the best kisser of anybody in the cast. So I would end up. She would be like, "Oh, you kiss really, really well. The audio is so good. You do it better than anyone." And she's like, "How do you do it?" And I'm like, I make out with my hand. It's like being in junior high again." And so she actually would sit there and she would cut in my kissing sounds for other cast members because mine were just so good. And and so I ended up having to put in this little like moan whenever he was kissing, and just making it as off-putting and creepy as possible. So that was probably the weirdest thing, because I just had to keep up that crazy weird energy, something like that. So and you do that for like 14 takes.
Honestly, I understand, because I do my own type of voice acting on the side that gets creepy, but is actually probably the most mild thing I ever heard.
Well, I'm trying to think if I've ever had to do anything else, and that's probably the most memorable. It comes to mind is she told me one day, you have the best kissing sounds, and then suddenly I got really self-conscious. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, and
just doing what you would do back in like high school, junior
when
high.
You're 12. I mean, yeah, exactly. What's there to do when you're 12 on a Saturday night? I mean, you kiss your hand and, wonder what it's like to, kiss a girl. So, yeah, that's probably the weirdest thing.
Any favorite character have you personally voiced? Do you actually do now, or just a random character you love that you just randomly voice?
Well, so there are different characters. Like there are characters that I play, and so one of my favorites was I played Edgar Allan Poe on a podcast called H.G. Wells Has His Regrets, and it hasn't put out a new episode in a while, but basically I get to be this really comically morbid version of Poe, where he's just very, very sort of wistful and very lonely, and all he has is his pet Lenore, and everyone's pretty sure that Lenore is a dead stuffed raven, but no one has the heart to tell him that the raven's dead. So you wonder if he's nuts. You wonder if he's just lonely and trying to come up with imaginary friends. It was a fun character to play. And then for actual voices, one of the very first impressions I ever did, I did Captain Picard from Star Trek. And so my Shakespearean accent is very much like Jean-Luc Picard, because that is what I've been doing for the better part of 25 to 30 years. And so that one was kind of fun.
Honestly, that was very interesting.
Really?
I have to say, I'm also a big Trekkie. And that was like probably the best impression I ever heard anybody do. But then again, a lot of people try to do Spock, and I'm like, gotta make him sound more monotone than that. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm doing it perfectly. He has no really emotions. You might want to tone it down to like a 2.
Voice. Yeah.
We'll literally tell you how he would probably dissect you, kind of monotone.
Well, I'm also a very huge Trekkie. I definitely have a lot of Star Trek memorabilia. I had an uncle who worked on the show on Next Generation, so he gave me a script for one of the episodes of Next Gen. And then when I was 13, I visited the set of Deep Space Nine, so that was kind of fun.
That is very interesting. I'm going to actually now go into some of the questions that are typed up here. What started your voice acting journey?
That's a good question. It actually took me a little while to remember, but I actually started doing radio commercials when I was 7 years old. And I did commercials for a local jewelry store. My mom was handling the advertising for them. And so I would just talk into a recorder. And that was my first exposure to doing voice work and also contract negotiations, because I found out she wasn't paying me. And so we had to have some discussions about, I don't work for free. So she ended up paying me per commercial. But then when I started to hear myself over the radio, I thought, oh my God, is that what I sound like? I sound like Linus from the Peanuts Christmas special. And I gave up. I was like, I don't have the voice for this. And I stopped doing this for 20, 25 years. And then I was doing I was part of a social group that would watch Star Trek episodes. And one night I just did some fake promos for fun. They were watching an episode where one of the characters was a spy in a holographic simulation. And I'm like, it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? No? Well, you're a bad parent. And if you can find them, watch, Our Man Bashir, Tuesday at 8/7 Central. And it actually got really good reactions. And people started sending me casting calls. And so one of them was the daughter of a friend of mine. And it was either audition for this podcast or seem like a complete jerk to a 14-year-old. So I did it, and I got cast in it. And so I was like, wow, okay, that was probably a fluke. And I started trying out from other stuff. And I just started finding some success. And gradually I started moving from podcast to audiobooks, and then, jumped into the video game sphere. And I just really enjoyed it all. And so on the advice of my friend Melissa Medina, she says, try everything. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now.
It's the best kind of thing I think I've heard, because I grew up with my dad doing funny voices. So I'll find a way to do our stepping stone. Yeah, we might not like it at first, but we just need that little nudge to get back into it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is that I've always said, I usually say to someone on like social media, if they're down on themselves with their voice acting, I say, we are our own critics, and you cannot sit there and listen to what you're saying because when you're recording in the booth, you've got that physical memory. You've got this really dramatic scene where you're trying to pour your heart out, and you're sitting there in your Batman pajamas, and you're scratching your nose and you're drinking your coffee. So for you have that physical memory along with the voice, and so it feels like you've done something less than what you have, and so I always tell people to be really careful about that, and I was guilty of it for a very long time. That and my voice also had to get deeper and a little bit richer. I actually taught at a university for a while, and I would give talks when I was like 27 or 28, and my voice would still crack, and it was the most irritating thing ever.
I know those pains.
Well, I had a student who was just like, yeah, I'm like, didn't you ever go through your voice change? And I'm like, you try projecting to an entire lecture hall for 3 hours. But
never again.
Also, shut up. You're going to stay afterward and do extra assignments.
That's how you do it. That's how you do it.
Exactly. I'm a college educator. I can do whatever I want.
I could throw up a movie if I want to. I don't want to teach this class.
Exactly. I never really did that because that's what they wanted. They wanted me to just put on a movie, walk out, and then they could sleep. But no. I still could threaten them.
It would be that teacher that probably put up Bill Nye the Science Guy, even if I was not a science teacher. I'm not feeling good. You're watching Bill Nye. And yes, there's going to be notes, so.
Yeah.
I'm going to be in the teacher's lounge.
Yeah, I'm gonna be outside, drinking my special coffee, and just don't bother me for an hour. Even if it's over, just watch it again. Repetition is good.
And then we're going to have a surprise quiz on this film, so.
Must learn to say the whole film backwards.
Yes, in French. So get started. I actually had that. I had some students who, we were doing a class, and we went through the entire lesson plan, and they were pretty rowdy. They weren't listening. They weren't doing what they were supposed to. And finally, I'm like, okay, as a final word, go ahead and study these things. And also, there will be a quiz next Tuesday when we have class. And they started whining. They're like, but you said we didn't have class. We didn't have a quiz. We didn't have this. Why are you changing your mind now? And I looked at them and I just said, because you pissed me off. And they just slunk out of the room. And I'm like, yep, I like being a college educator. It's very rewarding.
Yeah, that even happens when you're a high school student. If you piss off your teachers, you're screwing up everybody's schedule. Like, they're not planning to study their whole week. You piss them off the day before the quiz for the reason why they get a fucking F.
Exactly. Oh, it was always entertaining in school because I would have students walk up to me like, I might come to class next Tuesday, but I'm taking this pass fail, so it doesn't really matter. And I look at them like, yeah, there are two options: you either pass or you fail. It's not pass and nothing else. So get your ass in here, or I will fail you. But dude, that's not how it's supposed to go. And like, well, I don't care. And you're more than welcome to try and test me, but you're gonna lose. So, yeah, it was fun. I taught archaeology for about 5 years.
I would love to dive into that, but unfortunately, we've gotten way off topic.
It happens.
So, before I let Wolf go on with all the other questions that were typed up, this is, of course, the big one I've been asking in all the episodes, except for that one time, I think. I don't know. So for everyone that's gonna be watching, you're just gonna be groaning like, Lion, why do you have to ask this question? It's an important topic. If you're that upset about it, you're not in the right industry. So Adam,
Yes.
with the way a lot of stuff has been shaping up with people wanting better representation, better talks and discussions about getting people that are actually in these credences or these sexual orientations or in these whole ethnic groups to be in these proper roles in all these things that have kind of been gradually getting better and better, with 2020 being an even bigger push. Where do you think this will lead from all these talks happening over, hypothetically, the next 5 years? Like, where do you see the industry evolving because of these talks?
That's a really good question. I don't mind answering it. I think that this is a conversation that's been long overdue. I do think that representation is absolutely vital, because there are elements of characters that we play that, as we are actors, we can try to approach those elements, but there's the lived experience. There is the memories that we carry, the experiences that we have that help drive that performance. And so we can't always tell stories that aren't ours, and we can't always properly convey them. So I think that it's really important to have that representation. And we've definitely been having a national conversation on diversity, equity, inclusion. And it's definitely something that's needed, and it is something that I think will continue to gain momentum. I know that professionally, it's not pushing it. I think it's happening at a slightly slower rate, but I think it's also something that that is still gaining momentum on its own. Am I making sense? I hope I'm making sense.
You are.
I'm just speaking off the top of my head. Okay. So I think as we move forward over the next 5 years, I think that these conversations are going to continue. I think that they're going to be difficult to have, because we're going to have a reckoning with how we represent people, how we cast people. And we also have to figure out how to mediate between what are the characters we play and what are the people that we embody in our everyday life. Because, in the end, we're actors. We are playing people that we are not in our everyday lives. And if we go for that same individual in every role, then we're not really acting. And so we have to find that balance between stretching our performance and also being able to make sure that people are represented and the stories are told in the right way. And we approach things thoughtfully.
I like that. I really do.
Thank you.
And I hope you don't mind me dropping that heavy question. It's just every single time I've had to listen to so many people being like, it's in the right, it's in the wrong. It's like, let's actually have a conversation, guys. Let's not go to Twitter and act like us ranting and raving like a bunch of starving hyenas trying to rip apart a carcass is the best way to have a discussion, because that's not how we get answers. It's just how we get more discourse and a divide.
Exactly. The discourse has to be properly directed, and we have to remember that it's not an easy or perfect question to answer. There isn't a binary yes or no or a perfect way to do it, and we're probably going to try different things and fail miserably and have to start over. But nothing in life worth doing is easy. And so we just have to get started and work on it as we go.
Right.
It's very, very valid right there.
Well, since I got the big heavy thing off of the plate, I'm going to then just slide the mic back to Wolf, so y'all aren't going to be like, Lion, you're such a killjoy. We don't even like you as the host anymore.
I was going to get there, but in all fairness, I'm using my dice because I'm a D&D nerd. you pick the question, so
Oh no, you're fine. I just like poking fun at a lot of people that would watch this. Like, I'm gonna skip over this because I don't feel like this section is about me. Life's not about anyone. It's just about getting answers. But okay.
Life happens, and we're just along for the ride.
okay. Next question. If you could learn any other language, what would it be?
Any other language? That is a good question. I would probably learn. I'd probably learn Chinese. I think that it's a fascinating culture, and China has a fascinating culture, and the language is very complex and nuanced, and that in and of itself is pretty interesting to me. I speak Spanish already, so that's kind of off the table. But yeah, I've just find that the tonality and the just the way that you convey yourself it's very subtle, and you really have to be aware of what you're doing, and you really have to kind of be fearless in learning a language like that.
I was actually expecting either Spanish, French, German, something like that, but Chinese, that is very interesting.
Well, so I had to learn Spanish for my doctoral degree because I had to do. I was studying pre-Columbian empires in Mexico, and so I was reading these documents that were from the 16th century, and I had to try and understand what the hell these guys were saying. They did not have spell check. They could change the spelling of a word 14 times in a paragraph, but I had to develop a pretty good facility for that language. So.
You're going to probably hear the dice going. It's fine.
Yeah, I heard the dice.
Okay. Here's another fun question. What's a typical day like for you? Away from the creative space, and can you just walk us through a everyday for you?
Sure. So right now, what happens is, I'm married. I've been with my lovely wife for 13 years now. We've been together for the better part of 20, and we have 2 kids. And so usually the day starts between 4:30 and 5 a.m. With my daughter whining and crying down in her room, which is our signal that she's awake. And so I'll go down and get her and bring her upstairs and get her set up in front of the television because I'm just not awake to engage. And I have to have my coffee first. And then we usually get them outside to walk and play because they need to run off some energy. My daughter's 2, and she is definitely very energetic and she's a force of nature.
Yeah, I remember my niece and nephew being like that too.
Oh yeah. Well, today she was mad because I wouldn't help her get dressed, and so there was a 45-minute meltdown downstairs. And so usually I just kind of, if I've done everything possible, then I just say, listen, come up when you're done. And I go upstairs and, she can just scream it out. But she's stubborn enough to keep going for ever. She eventually runs out of steam if she's hungry, but she can keep going. So we generally get them outside to run and play. I drink my coffee so I can wake up and be civil. And then I take my daughter to her daycare, and my son is homeschooled right now because of the pandemic.
Right.
So I'm usually working remotely. I actually work at a community college, and so I start my day on the computer, and I'm working for about 4 or 5 hours, and then I take over with my son, and then we go through different things like science experiments, or we go outside and play, or we'll go run around the pond that's behind our house. And that's just so that we can get him out and exercising. Otherwise, he'd sit on his butt all day in front of a screen. And so we've done stuff like growing crystals and making we actually made cloud soap. Or have you ever heard of that?
No, I have
Basically,
not.
microwaving. You take an ivory soap bar and you microwave it, and it's supposed to turn into foam. Ours failed miserably, even though I microwaved it for like 10 minutes.
You're making me want to
So,
go downstairs and try that.
Well, you should. It's really cool because you put it in and the pictures show it like it looks like a cloud, but it's soap. And but ours was just kind of like a cotton candy ball and with a gooey center. It was weird. But then after that, I just basically go and pick up my kid from daycare, and we make dinner, and I try and survive until it's time to put them down to bed, and then I go and do my creative stuff.
And that seems like very interesting, especially considering you get to have like fun science experiments with your son, especially the soap experiment.
Yeah, he's a sponge. I mean, he soaks up information like crazy. So we have to keep him constantly engaged, or he'll put his brain to ill use. He will find ways to be evil, and so we have to keep him thinking, keep him working, and that's one way to make sure that he's not building a death ray. Because I wouldn't put it past him.
Yeah, never put it past somebody.
Usually, yeah. So one rule we have in the house is, okay, if they're quiet, don't disturb them. But if they're quiet for longer than 10 minutes, one of them might be dead. So we generally have to go downstairs and make sure that there's still proof of life. And get your sister out of the trunk. Don't lock her in there. It's ridiculous. Or my favorite is, don't jump off the desk. That's really stupid. Because you're going to hit your head on the ceiling. So we generally have some fun.
I think I pretty much asked you this, but what would you say has been your all-time favorite creative project that you've been a part of, and why?
Oh, that's a good question. I've been fortunate to work on a lot of really fun projects. I would say as a voice actor, my favorite. So my favorite challenge has been voicing this character on Y2K, which is Jono. He's British, and he's kind of an asshole, and he's not a very nice individual to his girlfriend, and they get into all kinds of fights and things. And so I really enjoyed that. That's my favorite character because he was just a challenge. I had to totally. In the very first table read we did, Karen stopped me and said, "You have to turn off the nice guy." And so I took that with me and basically just went all out. And so I was just mean and just not a nice person whenever I was in that character. I have gotten into modes because he screams and shouts where I've scared the shit out of the dog, and the dog has run to the other side of the house because he doesn't want to be around hearing me scream. So that was fun. And then I would say the Insomnia Project is another one that I really enjoyed. I worked with Caitlin Kleiman, and I created a character for that particular show. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's about a scientific experiment gone awry where they try to eliminate the need for sleep. And in that show, I created a character called the Voice of Gonsanto, because Gonsanto is this really evil industry that's doing the study. And she had created a phone line for people to call in and give questions and things like that, but there was no one to read the voice message. And so I created this rather creepy voice where it was like, "Thank you for calling Gonsanto Industries. Please leave your name, number, and a brief list of childhood phobias." And she loved it. And so I created that character, and that character appeared as the credits announcer, and I've done other things there. And I also learned audio engineering because of that production. She lost her audio engineer after episode 1, and so I taught myself enough to keep everything going. And we just had a lot of fun. I mean, she was very collaborative, even though this was her baby. very gracious about ideas that I had, and so I've had a lot of fun doing that.
Kind of reminds you of our first year, doesn't it, Wolf?
Oh God, yeah.
Oh, how so?
So we originally had a few people lined up to help us with a bunch of stuff with audio engineering and a bunch of other stuff with the art. But then because certain people would be flaky or not really pitching in up until recently when I had one of my close childhood friends and then this other person I know coming in to be the main editors, I was the one that mostly learned audio engineering for like a lot of our earlier productions up until I think like halfway through 2018, where a lot of the stuff that we made before I took them down because it was like, oh no, we're not putting up with you. We just kind of chuck them out into the ether.
You just own them and they don't exist, so you can't find them.
But I made it enough to where even now, when I do at least a little bit of production stuff on the sly, you might see me in the credits as Leo being the editor for some stuff. I now know enough to be like, I know what we need and what we want. And Wolf here being the head of the art department, she's had to make a lot of stuff for a lot of our earlier stuff. Where, yeah, I know deep down she kind of cringes a little bit when she sees old art pieces gone to waste. And that's a mood. But she's still cooking up a lot of stuff for some stuff right now where it's like, geez, hearing all that brings back memories to our first year. A lot of screaming, a lot of yelling, and a lot of why are we doing this to ourselves?
I literally have... I told you this. I would brokenly kick down the door and yell at the ass if they don't do their stuff on time. I consider the pyromaniac, so you don't do your work, you're literally on fire. You're not being fired. You're literally on fire.
Well, that's one way of personnel management. I mean,
no one actually gets hurt.
Well, I mean, they don't know that, or they don't need to know that.
Exactly.
Might need to make an example. But you know, the mortality rate in audio drama it's acceptable.
Yeah, they can survive like a little bit some burn marks. It's fine. It's fine.
Well, I mean, just run the. I mean, you just run the company by prison rules. You kick the ass of the biggest voice actor in the room, and you show that you mean business.
Oh, then they would lose that fight.
Dang it, Vince, I'm gonna have to kick your butt then.
The biggest ones are myself, Sarah Ruth Thomas, Rar's Revenge, Jenny Ann, Mac McGee, Jay,
Yeah.
not a Wolf's boyfriend Jay, a different Jay. Like there are at least the top 10 where it's just like I go through that whole gauntlet to then have the top crown to do whatever you want, and it's a losing fight there.
Oh well.
Yeah.
So I was part of a group called Thrown Together Productions for a while, and so we definitely had to figure out the management style. And for a while, I was doing audio engineering under a pseudonym because I knew that if the guy who ran the studio, if he found out I could do audio engineering as well as script editing and voice acting, that he'd find a way to put me to work on other productions. And I was like, I just want to focus on one thing. So for a while, I was Aiden Ford. And he actually thought Aiden Ford was a real person who just was really shy on social media. Until one day, I think somebody slipped up and told him that who I was. I've never found out who, but eventually the cat was out of the bag.
Woodhouse.
Okay, my marshmallow dice have spoken, and they say
The suspense is terrible. I hope it'll last.
I know. My goodness. This is a real dramatic pause.
I know, right?
Wolf was a master of suspense.
That she is.
But
We didn't hear it, so we were just trying to play it off like it's just you're the master of suspense.
You were just holding it was a
Okay, let
pregnant
me-
pause.
I guess my voice wasn't in the mic correctly. First, you laptop mic. What would you say is the biggest highlight, the shittiest year of them all? 2020.
The biggest highlight of the shittiest year of them all. Well, let's see. Biggest highlight for me. Gotta think about that because 2020 feels like it's lasted about 10 years.
Oh, God. Yeah, I know the feeling.
Yeah, it's like the decade of 2020, and it's just Well, I would say for me the highlight is I've broken into the video game industry because that is that's a different kind of voice acting from something like doing an audio drama versus an audio book where you're reading these lines and you're trying to do an accent or you're trying to do a particular mood or idea. So for me, the highlight's been getting into the video game industry because I get to create these new characters, and I've gone through classes with Melissa Medina to improve my character creation, and so that's been a lot of fun. That's been a creative stretch that I really never thought of myself doing. I always thought, yeah, I have a decent voice for doing what I'm doing, but doing characters, I'm not sure about that. And then we would start creating these different personas or different characters. Like I created a drunken meditation master who was really, really bitter with the world. So he was just kind of like, close your eyes and take a deep fucking breath. I know that this is your substitute for therapy. You're not gonna go to my fucking Patreon. And so that I had a field day, just trying these new character voices out. I never thought I was going to be doing that.
That is very fucking amusing right there.
Yeah, I created one there, and then there was a wizard. He was like, I was knocked into a pit, and I had to fight hordes of undead creatures. And afterwards I climbed out and looked at everyone and said, "This is my rune stick," and then calling out Evil Dead, and then yes, and then I saw a beautiful maiden, and I said, "Give me some sugar, baby." She didn't, but I made my play. So I was having fun.
That right there is gold. What is advice you'd give any upcoming talent that you wish you knew when you started?
Let's see. From a technical standpoint, I really understand the technical specs of your room and your microphone and all that, because that can really make or break your specific audition. I had a couple of auditions where I really did a great job, and people were telling me your voice was great, but then they said your environment sucked, and so your noise floor was too high, and it just wasn't it wasn't good to look at, or we'd have to filter it so much that we wouldn't be able to do it, so we can't use you. So I'd say that doing that from a technical standpoint, and then as a voice actor, as someone who is an emerging professional, I think the most important thing is to just keep trying. Send and forget is an absolutely vital thing to learn. Some of the best things that I have been cast in, I sent off and I completely forgot that I'd even auditioned for them. And it really helps, because then you're not sitting there hitting refresh on your email. You're not tying your self-worth to a specific audition. You don't fall in love with a specific character. You maintain that level of detachment, and then it's easier when you get rejected, because that's the most common part of being a voice actor. Is just, you're going to try out for 50 things, you're going to get cast in maybe 4, and that's a pretty good ratio overall. So I think it's really just learning that send and forget, maintaining some level of detachment from what you're doing. Be invested in the character, but don't hang your self-worth on it.
It's a lot better than most other people saying, I wish I told myself back in the day to get this one agent that would have defined my life. Yeah, as someone that had his own agent, they don't really do much except make your life harder.
See, that I've been hearing that. I'm preparing to go more into voiceover on a full-time basis, and so I'm learning a lot of stuff as I go. And so there are a lot of different opinions on agents and whether or not you should have them, or...
Oh, for other people, I say yes, but for me, no. Last agent I had, I'm still mad. He still owes me, like, at least $85,000.
Wow. So he wasn't finding auditions, or...?
Oh, he found me auditions. He got me to work with NBC, PBS, CBS for like one small thing, and he almost got me a contract with Netflix. But he owed me money.
Oh, yeah. That's it right there. That sucks. Hopefully you'll have a change of heart over Christmas and be visited by the ghosts of, lawsuits and bad reps and pay up the money.
I hope so. I doubt it, but I hope so. Meanwhile, for the holidays, I'm just thinking to myself, if I could just get Wolf a better computer, that would be amazing.
I could use a better computer too. I bought a new one, and it's supposed to be really good, and it just sucks. One day it was like, sorry, I can't do any more updates. I don't want to do it. And so I've been dealing with that while trying to finish this audiobook, and my first computer was just awesome. Like, I could do anything and everything on it, and this one just refuses. It's the most diva computer I've ever had.
Okay. Well, before Wolf does the whole dice toss, it's at that point in time in the interview show where, if you've already seen the other episodes, people listening at home on Spotify, when this is finally put on Spotify in January, and for people watching this on YouTube in like a couple of days, it's time for us to finally flip the tables so that we, myself, and Wolf will be the ones being asked the questions by Adam, because I believe in any interview show, everyone has questions that want to be answered, so everyone has a chance to ask the question they've been dying to ask. It's just fair that way, in my opinion.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, so for the two of you, and neither one of you can answer, what's a role that you've done that you wish you had approached differently, based on the finished product?
That's
That's tough.
tough for you. It's easier for me. I've done quite a few roles for Lion over here. I wish I could have done certain voices a little bit more funny or a lot more dark and mysterious.
Okay.
I can't remember all of them on top of my head. But I know there is definitely like some past stuff that we pretty much got rid of. If I were to redo it again, it would probably make it funnier. and eerie at the same time.
Excellent.
Grandma!
Grandma!
It's about ready to kick your kneecaps in.
That's it. That would be an awesome character.
I think I now remember the role I wish I had done better. So I was trying to think deep, and the only thing in recent memory I wish I could have done better was when one of my friends approached me to do a comic dub of one of the only few things in anime I like, and I was just so exhausted when I was finally able to get the lines in. I could feel myself when I was like recording, like, this is probably not me at my best, and I heard the audio. I'm like, if only I had more sleep, I could have been better. I could have been way better.
Yeah. I think I can absolutely empathize there. I've had characters where it's like, yeah, I should have rested more. I should have been more. I should have drunk more water. I should have done this to get the character a little bit higher up, a little bit in pitch. I should have done this. I get it. I absolutely get it.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else would I ask? I don't have any dice.
Want me just randomly roll a dice and tell you the number?
No, because I mean, what I would be like, oh well, 16. Oh well, 16 is let's see, really quick. No, let me think for a second. You can always edit this in post. Well, okay. What are your? So give me a little bit more about your backgrounds in voice work. How long have y'all been doing this? And
Wolf, you want to go first?
Well, for me, technically, I want to say since, as much as I hate it, 2014, like at the end of 2014, all the way to recently.
Okay.
And I hate my first fucking jobs. I hate them. I don't want to go into them. I hate them.
Well, okay. I understand. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Oh no, you didn't do anything. You didn't do anything. She just.
Literally, I cringe because I still remember it like it was yesterday, kind of thing.
So I'll tell you that my first, one of the very first things I ever did, somebody said, you should read Go the Fuck to Sleep. And I did. And I had just gotten back into voice acting, and I was so unfamiliar with what the hell I was doing. To listen to the audio now is just, it's awful. Like my performance is bad. I improvised this whole thing where I broke down in the middle of the book and talked about how there was never any me time, and I hate my life, and I have these children that I'm stuck with for 18 years, and now I listen to it, I'm like, I could have done that so much better, and so I totally get it. I totally get it.
Yeah, that's Wolf's whole thing. Meanwhile, for me, it's just. I hope you guys enjoy having this roller coaster again. My whole thing started when I was 9 years old by something that, in retrospect, was illegal because of a lot of stuff. One of my friends, who is now making his own digital comic, because beforehand he was a pretty well-known fashion designer working with Calvin Klein, Vivienne Westwood, and Vera Wang for stuff. His mom was part of like a ad agency where there's this one company that was trying to make an upcoming diaper brand to rival all of the diaper brands that we have today, where they put up the collateral. They were trying to get all this stuff just established, and then going through testing, and then having the commercials out as osmosis ahead of time to get people aware of it. Mm-hmm. The problem, though, apparently was that the baby that they had as the actor for it wouldn't make a sound, and no one in their right mind was like, well, maybe if we just tickled the baby or made a funny face, maybe we could then have the baby make a sound. Everyone was very just stuffed shirts with one of my childhood best friends. The mom's just looking at him like, I'm being paid by idiots, but I can't do anything because I'm a Hispanic woman in a predominantly very racist world. And now I'm like, I get that so much. So then all of a sudden she's just hearing me and one of my childhood friends of Julian just making like some random voices, and I just all of a sudden just go into the baby voice that you do when you're 9, just when you're having your voice high enough to do that. And in that brief moment, she was like, would you mind doing something? And me at 9 years old, I'm like, yeah! They get me onto like this tape recorder to record it, and they all of a sudden just slip me like, I think $300 for my first ever paid role. But the problem with that, though, is 2 things. One, I had no legal guardianship to pass off that thing because it was paid work. And 2, that was a contracted thing where my voice was pretty much used without full-blown consent, meaning that that whole transaction was illegal.
Ooh. Yeah. Yeah.
Just pretty much did it because somebody you know's mom asked you.
Yeah. But that was like the beginning. It wasn't until I was around like 12 years old with my girlfriend at the time when she had like some connections with her uncle involving some stuff that only Wolf and the other founding members know. To where she approaches her uncle, and the uncle's like, I'm going to get you in contact with this guy I know in Hollywood, which was my first agent, who I still am like, you owe me so much money. And he didn't really get me a lot of big-time stuff, just maybe like a few small-time things to be in the background for certain commercials people have seen over the years, like one Chuck E. Cheese commercial where I made like maybe $5,000, one McDonald's thing where I'd be in the background when they're just trying to display one of the toys for one of the big movies. I made $3,500 that day. It wasn't until I was around like 14 when he started giving me the stuff with being in the background for Law & Order Criminal Intention, Law & Order SVU, and getting a contract with PBS to do stuff with Cyber Chase as one of the creature voice actors.
Wow.
But then again, the way he explained it was, here's what you gotta do. It's like, okay, we're not signing a contract to have your name in these credits because you're going to take the money under the table. And I'm thinking to myself, that's very messed up. And he's like, I know, but do you want people to know that you're doing this? And do you also want your family to know what you're really doing instead of going to school? He had me there.
So very covert.
So I got all the stuff on the table where I didn't have to go through the whole thing that people take pay cuts for. Like, I made enough money just being extras and doing the creature stuff to where for about a year with those contracts, I made like maybe $200,000 from those encounters, and then lined up my own personal project where I got paid $5,500 by someone in India to redub an Indian dubbed copy of Aladdin to do the Cave of Wonders, which is by far one of my favorite projects of all time.
That does sound cool.
But it wasn't until I was like 15 where a bunch of stuff happened where my girlfriend at the time and I, at that point we lost 3 kids together. I started realizing how much money I was losing from the agent where he took like 85 to 90% of my income, which was a whole lot more than I should have gotten from the numbers I gave you guys. One of my friends that was going to be in one of the Twilight movies went missing after she signed up this deal where I only heard from her one more time before I found out years later that she died of an overdose working out in Hollywood. And I was like, I can't deal with the professional leagues anymore. I gotta get out of this. And I didn't really come back until years later when I'm just hanging out with one of my blood brothers and we're just doing some stuff here and there. And I just pick up this old janky microphone. And people just enjoyed the fact that I had a lot of passion behind my voice to where I was like, maybe I would want to come back to voice acting, but I would only want to stay indie, never go back to professional. And that's been my whole credence since then.
That's quite a journey. I have to say that's incredible. But I can absolutely understand why you'd want to develop a philosophy like that, because it's definitely a brutal industry and so many ins and outs, and I'm learning so much about it and trying to figure out the best way to go so that I'm not, getting screwed or getting myself into something that I'm not prepared for,
I get that, and you're talking to the best people about it. Like, Melissa's a great person to go to. Sarah's another great person. Christian O'Boyle. Amanda's another great person to talk. There's a few people I know offhand I would trust to talk to about it. I'm just one of those people that I appreciate people wanting to go professional, but just don't drag me back there. That's not a place I want to go back to.
Well, that makes sense, and I will definitely keep that in mind. I do run a lot of things by Melissa. Like I did have the talk of, Melissa, what's an NDA? I don't know what that is. Are they going to kill me if I say anything?
No, they'll just wing you in the arm.
Yes, they will. No, yeah, they'll just break your arm, and that's a gentle reminder. So, but we have all these conversations over social media about NDAs and how we shouldn't say anything, and people are like, "Oh, haha, I auditioned for this little thing, and it's so much fun." And you're sitting there going, "Really? Why are you telling people?"
And then that's when the NDA agents are at their door, like, "We heard that you were talking, so now give us your arms."
Now listen, this is only gonna hurt for like 20 seconds or so, and then for maybe another couple of weeks while it sets. But you gotta learn, kid. The next time we kill you, that's gonna hurt a little bit more.
The NDA. Someone make fan art of that. The ND agents.
Listen, I'm one of the ND agents. I've seen some shit. There's a little kid up in Pacoima who decided to talk about his Happy Meal commercial, and afterwards he wasn't that happy, was he?
I also remember that one kid for the Burger King commercial. He thought he was gonna be royalty, and then he ended up a peasant.
He thought he was going to be wearing a robe, and he started wearing a body bag. And unfortunately, it was out of season. It's like wearing white after Labor Day. You're not supposed to do that.
There's a bunch of things you're not supposed to do.
Right?
They're going to do it anyway.
Well, I mean, yeah, you see all these horror stories about, I talked about this NDA, I didn't think it was a big deal since I didn't get the role. And like, yeah, but it says don't say anything for X number of years afterward.
Like that girl that announced that she was Ms. Marvel.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. It's like, oh well, I guess I can talk now, and so I'll just say that I auditioned for this role, and then she posts the audition sides, and yeah. So either it was a very, very well crafted like marketing scheme by Disney to try and gain more notoriety for the show, or somebody just torpedoed their career, and they're going to be, they're going to be trying to crawl out of that hole for at least a decade,
or both.
Or both.
Because those NDA agents for Marvel and Disney, they don't play nice.
No, they don't.
The mouse is very exacting.
I sure am.
motherfucker!
Oh no, Mickey. Yeah.
Falsetto ain't one of my talents, you know?
I have to be a very, very sort of prepared to go falsetto, and that's very rare.
Yeah. Like that was something I've learned to do, to go falsetto and really go falsetto. I knew how to do it when I was younger because I had the higher pitched voice, but like my mom was an opera singer, and so she would be like, "No, you don't really want to do that." And then she'd tell me, don't whisper, that's a bad thing to do. And she'd give me all this advice. And, that's kind of how I taught myself to do voice acting, was learning the singing diction. And, but for me, it was like, okay, like I don't have a very high voice, but I don't have a really low voice. I really shouldn't do a whole lot of high pitched stuff. I never tried doing anything up there. And so, when I started doing the character work, I learned how to talk up here, I think Melissa once said that I sounded like I was a delightful character who sounded like he was on crystal meth and slightly constipated. And I thought that was a pretty good description. Because I can go up this high, and this is how I can talk. So I'm quite proud of the fact I can go high now.
Yeah. But before I forget, because I have a terrible, terrible memory, did you have any other questions for us, Adam?
What advice would you give me as an emerging professional voice actor for the future? Aside from, don't go into Hollywood, what would you recommend I do?
3 things. 1, don't ever trust a man named Zane Bortesky. There is a reason for that, but he's probably either changed his name or went through plastic surgery to where his name might be Donald Lovac by now. This man will literally try to drag you into the weirdest parties to set you up to then blackmail you the next day.
Wow.
I only know this because I really only know this because one of my friends was just like, I'm finally going to be in this movie. Like, he hits me about this like 3 years ago, where he was trying to say he's going to be in the upcoming Marvel movies or whatever they were trying to film. And then he's all of a sudden like, I can't be in the movie anymore. It's like, what happened? This guy named Zane just took a photo of me with sugar on my face and said it was cocaine. Said he was going to send it to the people I was going to work for. It's like, oh no.
Wow. Okay, so don't trust that guy, and do not have powdered sugar donuts anywhere where someone can photograph me. I will keep that in mind.
Number 2, definitely invest in having an investor to keep better track of your money, because everyone, when they get out there, it's like, I'm gonna make the fast bucks. Don't invest in fast bucks. Invest in better saving when you get that better equity, because with that tax bracket that you're going to be entering when you get the upper echelon, you'll need better investors to make sure that you can quadruple your profits and pretty much have them invested in things that will make you actually wealthy instead of rich.
That is an excellent piece of advice. Thank you.
And the last one I can say is, if you ever go to an award show, do not, and I repeat, do not try to stop and take a photo for everything, because eventually you will trip and fall and it will be everywhere.
That is definitely a good piece of advice.
And don't go there wearing a yellow suit, or else they'll associate you to being that All Might wannabe.
All right, well, what about just like, what about a tuxedo shirt? Would that work?
Tuxedo shirts can work, because Kirsten Stewart, before she became Twilight famous, she just mostly came to red carpets in jean jackets, t-shirts, and jeans.
Okay. Trying to figure out, like, I either dress up really, really nice, or I look okay as a, if I'm slightly like like I just woke up and I had to show up. You know, like I can pull off those looks, but anywhere in between, it's kind of a gray area. When I show up to the office, I always hate how I look. So I'm really glad we're working at home, because then I can just, you know, wear jeans and my Star Wars T-shirt, and you know, the people I work with can just deal with it.
Wolf, I think you found your new best friend.
Yep.
Do you all have any other questions for me?
We do. We just gotta flip the tables again. Oh wait, there's a donut on this table. This ain't my donut. Is this your donut, Wolf?
I think that's
Powdered
Steven
sugar on
from Riff Waves.
Oh, I know, this is a powdered donut. Adam, this is yours.
Oh God! Wait. Okay, there we go.
Always get that fresh smell of donut in the air. Mmm, jelly.
I could just do lines of donut, you know? Oh, yeah. Good stuff. All right, I'm ready to go.
Okay. These next few questions are going to be from myself, because when I was talking to Anonymous, one of our editors that's probably going to be editing this episode. Hi, Anonymous. She wanted to ask on her own behest with me, and I don't know why she asked me to say it like that. What would be an independent studio you'd like to work with in the future, and why?
Independent studio. Wow. That's a really great question. I honestly don't have an answer. I love working with a lot of different studios and a lot of different groups, just because there's just so many options. I mean, are you guys looking for someone to voice in projects?
We are always looking, but not right now.
Oh, okay. See, all right. I'm gonna have to check back later. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have an answer. Like, I'm looking at any and all opportunities right now, and I'm just keeping everything open, because, you know, I'm learning, and I'm making that step toward, you know, actually deriving some sort of income from voice work and from creative work, and it's really exciting, but I'm still figuring out what the hell I'm doing.
I get that. She was trying to be like, if he says Blumhouse, I would probably go straight for him. It's like, Anonymous, don't ever say that. Don't ever say that. Why? Your wife is literally behind you when you say this.
Doesn't need to know, Vince.
You could tell me, but you'd have to,
Cool.
you know, send the NDA police.
Like, kicks down the door. Hello, we just heard. We're the NDA police. We heard that you're the one that said something. Oh my God. Wait, are you that guy that's wearing a... Wait, the NDA agents?
You know, listen, I'm an NDA agent, but, you know, it doesn't always pay all the bills. So, you know, I also kill people on the side.
Then why are you with the
Kind of a
police
side
department?
hobby. You gotta love what you're doing. You know, I love putting two in the back of someone's skull, because, you know, it's fun.
Always double tap, man. Just always double tap.
Just double tap, you know, one for the kill and one for safety. One extra to grow on if it's your birthday, you know.
But aside from me just kind of having Anonymous have her laugh, because she's going to laugh when she's editing this, second question that she typed up for me on a tablet I have, what do you think would be the least favorite role you could think of that you've done? Because everyone has that one role where everyone's like, man, I hated being a farmer with a shotgun.
You know, let's see. I'm trying to think of all the roles that I have done. So I've done about 3 dozen in the podcast sphere.
Yeah.
My least favorite. Probably. So I had this one role, mainly because of of the experience I had. I did a production where I was hired to be the main character. And it was my very first paying role. And so I recorded all the audio. And the thing is, I was very, very new to doing voice work. So I was nervous. You know how when you really start out, you start talking really, really fast and you're not aware of it until someone points it out. So I recorded the audio, and he was like, okay, this is too fast. And so I did it again. He's like, this is still too fast. I need you to go lower. I need you to do this. And finally he was like, I think you could be a really great voice actor someday, but you're not there yet. So I'm going to have to fire you. And so I was let go, and he tried to find a replacement. He also told me, he said, you're not strong enough compared to the other voice actors. So I was like, oh, well, okay. So I ended up, watching the kind of the casting calls, because they were trying to recast it through Casting Call Club, and they had no success whatsoever. And they ended up using some of my audio anyway, because they needed to fill in the gaps, and they couldn't find anyone as a replacement. So I would say it was my least favorite from the experience standpoint. Is I was really learning, and it was kind of a blow to my confidence to get canned, and then to find out, oh yeah, by the way, we're still going to use that audio because we couldn't find anyone better. And when I listened to it, I'm like, fuck you, I'm just as strong as everyone else. I can hold my own in these scenes with other people. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. So that really long-winded response is probably my least favorite overall. But it also taught me to be humble. Just remember that you're working and you're trying, and do your best and leave it out there.
I get that. It's a better answer than a few other people I've heard, because it's like, I hated being in this one Minecraft roleplay because, like, guys, trust me, I know bad Minecraft roleplays. If you didn't have to go through something that I could classify as bad, just shut up, enjoy the fact that you did something that got you as your start, and move on.
I actually did a Minecraft short film. There was a Star Wars Minecraft or Star Wars fan film competition, and these two guys wanted to do this Minecraft based story, and they didn't have a voice actor for Han Solo, so I voiced Han Solo and this other character, and it covered the theft of the Millennium Falcon. And so I ended up voicing those two characters, and I had to do it in about a day.
Wow.
I feel like I could have been better at it. That was one of the things I would have gone back. If I'd had more time, I really would have worked on Han Solo, because he was just kind of gruff and pissy, and like Han Solo is. But I probably would have gone back and done it a few. I would have done it differently, probably. So I get it.
Yeah. And now the last question that Anonymous typed up for me to ask on her behest. Again, why did she have me say... it doesn't matter. What would you describe as the perfect vacation for yourself and your family? If you could go anywhere that wasn't in the current state of the world. Like, in the before times, basically.
In the before times, when everything was light and happy and everyone pranced around and there was sunshine and not death. Let's see.
Why, Abby?
I think a really great vacation would be. Gotta think about that a little bit. I think going to Ireland would be great. I've heard wonderful things about it from people who have traveled. I think that it would be a different place. I've never been. All my travels are restricted to the Western Hemisphere. My wife has been to a few places in Asia and in Africa. So Ireland would be someplace where we've never gone before, and I think the kids would really enjoy it. My son is actually pretty good. Actually, both my son and daughter are pretty good at mimicking sounds, so they might be able to pick up the accent. When my son was about 2, he could actually sound like he was British. He just thought it was funny. So he'd be like, "Oh, of course, father," and then I started doing Cockney and be like, "I'm stronger, faster, better," and he'd be like, "I'm stronger, faster, better," and it was the cutest thing. But I'm like, "Kid, if you steal my jobs, we're gonna have problems. There can't be 2 voice actors in the house."
Son, I love you, but if you take my jobs, I will destroy you.
I
you father.
I have a video. I actually have a video of my daughter, and I was practicing one of the new voices, and going into that lower register, and I was like, "Cora, you must put your pajamas on," and she goes, "No, Daddy, I don't want to." And I was blown away because she was really trying to go down into that lower register, and she was doing it better than me, which was pissing me off. But
That is
yeah,
so precious.
so they pick up the Irish accent pretty quick. It's just so rewarding when kids make fun of you and do things better than you do.
Right now, bitter because my headset just arrived.
Literally just arrived?
Yes, because it's Sunday. I expected it tomorrow.
Oh, Wolf. It's okay.
Yeah, it's all right.
Ryan, look at the chat.
So, did you have any other questions for Adam here, Wolf, or are you good?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
All right.
What a figure would you like to hang out with most?
What historical figure would I like to hang out with most?
Like whatever creative figure you want to hang out with the most.
Oh, creative figure. Okay. I think it would be awesome to hang out with Frank Welker because he just has done so much and does so many cool voices and is just so versatile. And plus, he's from Denver, where I live, and we have the same birthday.
Oh, wow.
So I think that would be awesome. Yeah. I was really jazzed when I found that out because before that, the only other person who shared my birthday was Ron Jeremy. And so people would ask me, okay, what famous figure do you have? Oh, and I'd be like, oh, yeah, the porn star who's doing like 20 to life. That was the only claim to fame. Now I can say Frank Welker, and then they can say, who the hell's that? And then I can explain that.
It's like he's been everything. He's been Fred.
Yes.
He's been Scooby. He actually was in an animated adult film. He's been the Cave of Wonders. He's been Claw.
Yep. Yes, everything. He has been everything. He is a god. We just merely live here.
I know. I love Frank Welker so much. In fact, if I actually got to meet him, I'd have a whole competition with him about the Cave of Wonders voice because I emulated him so well with that.
You can have a picture of my cat.
Aww.
That was my last question.
Okay. Yeah, so that would be my answer. I just found out last week that I share a birthday with Frank Welker. So I was definitely jazzed about it.
I would
now I have
too.
some pride, not pride in voice actors, not porn stars.
Not to say that all of you guys that are NSFW are invalid. It's just
No. I'm just saying I share with Ron Jeremy, and he's like doing like 200 years in prison now, right?
something like that.
So, yeah.
But them's all the questions that we had written down and all the stuff that Anonymous wanted us to ask on all things for her behest. Again, weirdest thing to say. And
Well, behest is better than like moist or something like that. That's a terrible word. It's just so
Boy.
Moist.
But yeah, we really enjoyed having you on the show with us today, Adam. It was a pleasure. And
it was a pleasure talking with you too.
yeah, and all of you guys at home watching this either on YouTube or on Spotify when it's fully translated over there, let us know if you like the whole concept of two different founding members speaking to creatives across all platforms, because this is very enjoyable. And as always, you guys can keep up to date with all the stuff for our guests on their socials, such as their websites that they're on, the podcast and or the production that they're in, that we list in the title of the videos, on the title of every single uploads, and in the descriptions below on our YouTube. If you're looking at this on Spotify, you're kind of SOL. As for us, you guys know you can keep up to date with us on all of our social medias, for Instagram, for Twitter, for keeping up to date with us live on Twitch at least 4 to 5 days a week that we're trying to get back into schedule for starting in 2021, and making sure you keep up with all of our latest releases coming out on Spotify, Podbean, and on YouTube. And before we close out, any final words from anybody? I'm going to try something a little bit new.
Well, don't take any wooden nickels.
Don't trust those wooden nickels!
Don't snort powdered donuts.
Hey,
Yes.
don't go crazy.
Powdered sugar goes in the tummy, not the nose.
Let's not get crazy, okay? There's no need to inhale the powdered donuts. That's not how you eat. You inhale them with your mouth.
I thought you freebased powdered donuts.
And sometimes.
There are multiple schools of thought, I know.
Well, anyway, though, guys, I've been the Lion Founder. With me has been the Wolf Founder. And yeah, and our guest today has been, of course,
Yeah, Adam Blanford.
that suspenseful silence just had me on the edge of my seat, like, oh.
Here, I mean, do you want it more dramatic? I don't know.
Adam Blanford.
And we will see you guys in 2021 for all of the brand new stuff for the second half of our first season of Cove Club, because we're going to take the rest of the month off to focus on other stuff, because we're exhausted. Okay, I love you. Bye-bye.